things forward for your younger sisters and your older brothers and family, that kind of thing. So thank you very much again, I say. I want to introduce one of our, I guess, well-known First Nation sports athletic. He won the Grey Cup. Who knows what the Grey Cup is first? Raise your hand quickly. Okay, so this gentleman won the 2011 Grey Cup with the BC Lions, and that's a great accomplishment to have that in our communities. Not very many. You know, we're getting better and better, like with the Stanley Cup and that kind of thing. But football is a real hard sport. It's a real contact sport. You have to put a lot of training and practice into it. And I understand that. You know, to get someplace, you got to keep at it every day, every night. And I know that, you know, what some of our First Nation people do that. And football is becoming, you know, one of the good sports that people are watching. When I go around the country here, you know, there's nothing I see but flags and things like that in people's yards and with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders on our First Nation bands. And also when I attend the games that I talked about, the football games in Regina, there's more First Nation people now than ever before. I always wanted to use that more than ever before. It sounds like Donald Trump, so he always says that. But I want to say that there's a lot of young people coming up. You know, we have junior football teams, and that's where I would say my friend, you know, started from. But he has a story, and I don't want to tell all his story for him. But I want to introduce J.R. LaRose. He's from the 1 Hour First Nation, and he currently does motivational speaking throughout our communities in Canada, and goes all over the place. I had the opportunity of meeting him back in 2012, around there. He actually came and played a game against the Riders and beat us that night, and I had the opportunity of meeting him there and giving him some gifts. And then also prior to that, we had a big supper for him with the government, and I think it was FSIN at that time again. So my brother David going and listening. But I want to introduce J.R. LaRose and welcome him to the stage and tell you guys his story. And I would ask you please to listen, because I know he has a real good story. I was going to read out all his biography here, but it's quite extensive, but he can explain that himself. So thank you very much, and I'll introduce J.R. LaRose.
Thank you, Tansei. Good morning. Thank you, Keith, for the introductions. My name is Gerald LaRose. I am a former professional football player. I played 9 years in the CFL. Started my career off with the Edmonton Eskimos, well now called Edmonton Elks. I played 4 years with the Elks before realizing they were trash. Jumped ship, signed with BC back in 2010, and I played 5 years with the BC Lions, retiring back in 2015. But in 2011, was very fortunate to win a Grey Cup championship. And so I have my championship ring, and I'll pass it around so you have an opportunity to look at it. The cool thing about the championship ring is, as you're seeing it, there's 99 diamonds on the front of the ring, and that's to signify that it was the 99th Grey Cup championship. So the front of the ring is made up of diamonds. The rest is made of white gold. So the ring is actually valued at just over $20,000. So I ask that you're careful as you pass it to your neighbor. Anyone thinks they're slick, wants to try and take off with it, I'm still in somewhat shape. I should be able to get you by the time you get to those doors and give you a deadly licking. But I'll start it off by, I'll pass it around. You can take a picture with it as well. I ask that you're respectful and quiet as the ring is going around. If there's a bunch of people making noise with it, I'll take it back, and then other people will miss out on that opportunity. So I'll pass it around again here. Just take a few seconds to take a look at it and pass it around so everyone has an opportunity. My man Keith in the back, make sure you're watching my ring, okay? Supposed to be my hired security here. But before I get into my presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a quick video. It'll give you a more in-depth look at some of the things that I'll be talking about today, but also me as a football player as well. So at the end of my presentation, I'll give you an opportunity. If anyone has any questions, I'll give you an opportunity to ask me some questions at the end of it.
Jeremiah 29:11 reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future." I feel like I'm living that plan out. I feel like the things that happen to us in life, they're not designed to stop us. They're designed to reposition us so we can come in contact with what God really has for us. And so everything that I do, man, I do it to honor God because I feel like God gave me a second chance at life. And so I feel like I'm doing what God put me on this earth to do.
In life, we all face different struggles. And what I've come to realize is that when we face adversity, there are two types of people. There are people that say, why me? And there's people that say, try me. But in the end, we need to figure out what our why is. Why we do what we do.
The reason why I do the work that I do is I know that there's so many other kids, so many other youth, people in general that have gone through the same things that I've gone through. And I want them to know that they're not alone. And by me sharing my story, it's healing. Every time I share my story, it's healing. I'm able to heal, and I know that I'm able to impact other people. I have walked a mile in these kids' footsteps. I've been there, I've done that. And my story is so relatable to what they're going through, what they might be going through right now. You talk about, kids growing up without their father. I've been that, I've experienced that. Family members that have struggled with addiction. Majority of my family, has struggled with addiction. My mom died because of her addiction. Her body just started to shut down. You talk about sexual abuse. I've been there. I was a kid that was sexually abused. So it's so important for us to, or for myself to give back and tell these kids that there is a better way. It would have been so easy. Would have been so easy for me as a kid to want to quit, but I wanted to break that cycle. And the way that I broke that cycle was I knew at a young age I was going to have kids, and I didn't want my kids to go through the same thing that I went through. And it's a choice. We all have a power of a choice. There's no secret to it, but you've got to learn to surround yourself with positive people. That's the only way you'll obtain whatever it is that you want to be in life. The biggest thing for me when people ask you, are like, how did you do it? What inspired you? I didn't want to allow my situation to become my excuse in life. I remember, I recall this one time, this lady, this young girl, was actually in northern Manitoba, came up to me after, and she said, JR, after hearing your story, we have a lot in common. She said, my mom passed away the same year your mom passed away. And then she said, my mother's name was Bobby, and that's my mom's name as well. And she gave me a big hug after, and she just said thank you. And that's what pushes me to continue to do the work that I do, is because if I can just inspire hope in other people and let them know that they are not alone, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel, then that's what it's all about. That's what my true calling is to give back and help other people. I remember when Henry Giersma Williams came and spoke at my school one time, and I was like,
been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
As we get into my story, the great thing about storytelling is every single one of us are going to face some sort of struggle, some sort of adversity. My message is one of hope. My message is one of not allowing your situation to become your excuse in life. You see, I'm no different than any person sitting in this room. You'll hear the struggles, you'll hear the trials and tribulations and the many obstacles that I had to overcome in order to get to where I'm at. So as I start my story, it's important that I start off by talking about my mom. So my family, we come from Reserve One Arrow First Nation, so I'm half Korean and half Nigerian. But my mom was part of the residential schools, as all of our families were a part of this horrific thing. And while my mom was there, actually attended the St. Michael's residential school right by in Duck Lake. But while my mom was there, my mom was left-handed. Every time my mom would go to use her left hand, my mother would get hit with the strap. She was forced to use her right hand. My mom spoke her Cree language fluently. As my mom would now go to speak her language, my mother would get slapped in the mouth. She was forced to speak English. My mom also had a medical condition. And what this condition was my mother was not able to control her bladder. So there'd be many nights that my mom would end up wetting the bed. And what the nuns would do is they placed my mom in the middle of the room, in the girls' dorm room, or in the girls' dorm area, and they placed a sheet over her head that she had peed on. She made an example of in front of all the other little girls. So you could imagine the amount of hurt, anger, and embarrassment that my mom was dealing with at such a young age. So my mom is now done with the residential school. She's now getting older. She leaves Saskatchewan, moves to Edmonton. As she's now making Edmonton home, my mother never dealt with all the traumatic things that had happened to her. You see, my mom didn't know who she could talk to or who she could trust. So my mom ends up turning into drugs and alcohol as a way to numb her pain. As many of us know, drugs and alcohol isn't the solution. It truly ends up tearing families apart. So I was born February 27, 1984. I came into a home where my mother was a full-blown drug addict. I grew up not knowing my father. My father actually got deported back to Nigeria while my mother was pregnant. So I knew nothing of my dad. But I'll never forget, as I was getting a little bit older, my mom had an address to where my father lived. She sits me down and she says, "My boy, why don't you write a letter to your dad?" My mom helps me write this letter. We mail it off. About almost 2 months go by. We get a letter in return. Now, as we get this letter, I'm excited. I'm now thinking to myself, maybe this will be the first interaction that I have with my biological father. My mom sits me on the couch. She opens up the letter. And as she reads the first few sentences of this letter, all of a sudden my mom stops. As she stops now, I'm confused. I'm looking at my mom and not understanding why she isn't continuing on. So I asked my mom, I said, "Mom, what's wrong?" Immediately tears started to roll down my mom's face. She looks up and she says, "My boy, this letter isn't from your father. This letter is from your father's wife." So what my mom didn't know while my dad was studying, going to university, my dad was actually married, had a whole other family back in Nigeria my mom knew nothing about. What this letter had said from my father's wife was, "Don't contact us again. We want nothing to do with you or your son." To this day, I can never figure out why my mom shared that with me. Maybe my mom was in shock, but I'll never forget hearing those words. Immediately, I started to cry, and I remember walking to my room absolutely crushed. You see, more than anything, I wanted somebody to call Dad. Truth be told, one of the things that hurt the most growing up without a father was I was gifted athletically, and I'd always want somebody to show up at my game, somebody there to support me. And this is what I thought at a young age. Any big game, if it was a basketball game, volleyball game, later on it ended up being football. But I thought to myself, if I become a good enough athlete, maybe that'll be enough to be accepted by my dad. Maybe that'll be enough to have my dad enter into my life and be proud of me. To this day, I'm speaking in a gymnasium, hearing the doors open. I think maybe this will be the day that my dad enters through that door. I know it's not going to happen. I'm 40 years old now. But we talk about how traumatizing that was for me as a young boy. And so I'd often look to some of my mom's boyfriends to be that father figure. There was a man in my mom's life. He was there for a while, and I'll never forget, he's on the couch watching TV. I'm about 9 years old at this time, and I approached his name was Adam. I approach him as he's watching TV, and I go up to him. I said, Adam, can I call you Dad? You could tell by me asking that question, it made Adam feel uncomfortable. Adam looks at me, and he doesn't say it rudely, but he says, JR, you're not my son. I don't feel comfortable with you calling me Dad. But 9 years old, just putting myself out there again, wanting to be accepted, wanting somebody to call Dad. And so as time would go on, my mom is struggling with her addictions. My mom is now in and out of rehab numerous times. But as my mom is struggling with her addiction, my mom would often leave me at different babysitters' places. I remember as my mom goes to drop me off at this one babysitter's place, she says, my boy, I'll be back to pick you up tomorrow. Tomorrow ended up turning into 2 days, 3 days. It had gone a whole week. I hadn't heard from my mom. I'll never forget sitting at that babysitter's place in the basement of the apartment, calling the apartment that me and my mom lived in, and the phone would just ring and ring and ring. It wasn't until after the 7th day my mom came back from her week-long binge and picked me up and took me home. So for the first 10 years of my life, I was raised downtown Edmonton, Jasper Ave, in an apartment complex called the Pepper Tree. I think it's now called the Pinnacle. From there, we moved to the north side Edmonton, right by Commonwealth Stadium in these blue low-income housing units. So as we're now settling into this new place on the north side of Edmonton, my mom finds a new babysitter to drop me off at. And at first, everything seemed to be okay. You see, there was a man that was there that would take me outside. We'd play road hockey in the front. We'd throw the football in the back. I remember many times as we're playing football in the back, I remember hoisting a wooden trophy over my head after these little games, thinking that, that was the Grey Cup championship. But that was the first time when I'd really found this love for football. Living so close to Commonwealth Stadium, I remember sneaking into many games, running onto the field after the players were done playing, thinking I was one of the Edmonton Eskimo players. But after about 6 months of being dropped off at this new babysitter's place, things started to shift. As my mom would now go to drop me off, she could never figure out why. Why I would clutch on to my mom and I'd grab my mom. I'd beg my mom. I'd say, Mom, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be here. My mom would always kiss me on the forehead and say, my boy, everything will be okay. Well, everything wasn't okay. You see, this man that was there that I thought was going to be this positive influence in my life, maybe even a father figure. The moment of now letting my guard down, the moment of being vulnerable is when I'm now being, I would start fights at school as a way to unleash my anger. After being suspended a few times, my principal brings him into his office. He sits me down and he says, JR, if you get into one more fight, we're going to have to expel you. We're going to have to kick you out of school. He says, you need to get involved in some sort of sport that allows you to get out your built-up aggression. So my principal says, JR, why don't you try and play football? Football is one of the sports you can run around, hit people, and not get in trouble. So I calmly looked at my principal. I said, you mean to tell me this game of football, I could run full speed at somebody, try and take their head off, and I won't end up in your office? He calmly looks at me and says, yeah, that's exactly what you can do. And so I'm like, where do I sign up? I'll never forget my first football practice. It was like love at first sight. I'm running around, I'm smashing people, people are hitting me. But for the first time in my young life, I found something that I was truly passionate about. Not only did I find something that I was passionate about, I found a place where I was able to get out my built-up aggression in a controlled environment. Not only that, but I had coaches that were there building up my self-esteem, telling me great job. You see, all these things that I had longed for in a father, I'm now receiving from these positive male coaches. And so I want to take this time to acknowledge, if you're a coach, you're a mentor, a youth worker, the work that you do on a daily basis. Oftentimes your job is a thankless job, but never underestimate the ability to make an impact on a youth's life. Oftentimes we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, or maybe you know what's going on behind closed doors with our youth. A simple acknowledgement, showing that you care, makes the biggest difference in our youth's lives. I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for that principal that introduced me to football, if it wasn't for teachers, coaches that believed in me. And so I just want to take this time to acknowledge any person that works with youth or is a coach or does some sort of mentorship. Forever grateful, because you don't know the impact that you can make on a youth's life, but by showing up and being consistent makes the biggest difference. And so now as I've realized that I have this love for football, I'm now being recruited. My senior year, I'm being recruited. I have 4 Division I schools in the States willing to give me a full ride scholarship. I had almost every university in Canada flying to my high school games, watching me play, trying to offer me a scholarship to get me to go to their school. You see, now I'm faced with having to make some decisions. You see, I thought I was such a good athlete that these schools will do whatever it takes to get me into their school. So I stopped handing in my assignments. I stopped going to class. It came to a point where I didn't have enough credits to graduate. But I'll never forget, one of the Division I schools, it was Central Florida. The head coach flies up to Edmonton to offer me a scholarship. But before he flies to Edmonton, he said, JR, I need to see your marks. I need to see your grades so we can offer you a scholarship. So he comes to Edmonton. He takes me to a restaurant called Tony Roma's. As we're going for dinner now, he asks for my marks. I slide that piece of paper across the table. He looks at it, and within minutes, or seconds, sorry, his face turns red. He looks up, and he says, JR, you've just wasted my time. Not only have you wasted my time, but you've wasted my school's money. I'll never forget what he said this part, though. He looks at me and says, JR, at some point you need to grow up and be the man your mom needs you to be. He knew what was going on with my living situation at home. Again, he says, JR, at some point you need to grow up and be the man your mom needs you to be. I'll never forget hearing that. He took me home, and that was it. Never heard from that coach again. Once all the other universities realized that I didn't have the marks to get into their school, they wanted nothing to do with me. I'm a firm believer, though, if one door closes, another one opens. But in order to open that door, we've got to be able to learn from our mistakes. So that summer, I had to go to summer school. I hated every part of summer school, but I knew it was necessary because I wanted to get a scholarship. I wanted to play college football. So I played junior football in Edmonton for a team called the Edmonton Huskies. I was very fortunate to win 2 national championships. That's after my last championship game playing junior football. And after my last season, my 3rd season playing there, I got a scholarship. I got a scholarship to the University of Manitoba. So as I'm getting ready to go to university, some friends and a few family members, we went on a camping trip. It's kind of like a going away party for me. As I'm driving back from this camping trip, my cell phone rings. I pick up the phone, and it's the head coach of the Edmonton Elks. His name was Danny Machochi at the time. He says, JR, we've been following your junior football career. We want to give you an opportunity to try out for our football club. And so I spoke to the coach for a few more moments, then I hung up the phone, and I started calling all my bros, family members. I said, man, I got a shot to play pro. I got a shot to play for the hometown team. You would think my friends would be just as excited as I was. But it was in that moment when I found out who my real friends were. Some of my friends said, JR, it's absolutely unheard of for anybody to go from playing junior football to making that jump to playing professional football. Some of my friends said, we don't think you're big enough, we don't think you're strong enough, we don't think you're fast enough. And so now I'm listening to all this negativity from my so-called friends, people I respect. And now it's really starting to have a negative impact on me. One of my best friends seen how much I was struggling with it, and he pulls me aside. As he pulls me aside, he gives me this deadly Bannock slap. Just psh. I'm just kidding, he didn't slap me. But he pulls me aside, and as he pulls me aside, he said, JR, if Edmonton didn't believe in you, they wouldn't have picked up the phone. You see, this professional sports, they don't have time to play games. I said, you're absolutely right. All this negativity, all this hate that I was getting from people that were supposed to have my back, I now wanted to use that as fuel, and I wanted to now shut those haters up. So 2005, I go to training camp with Edmonton, with the Edmonton Eskimos. I played on defense. I played corner and free safety, so it was my job to cover the receiver, make sure they don't catch the ball. My first preseason game, we're playing against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The quarterback throws the ball to the guy I'm covering. I step in front. I get an interception. I remember the crowd going wild. As the crowd's going wild, I'm celebrating with my teammates, but I now remember I look up into the stands. And as I'm looking up into the stands, I remember thinking to myself, all those people, those so-called friends that said I wasn't big enough, I wasn't fast enough, I wasn't strong enough, well, they had to buy a ticket to watch me live out my childhood dream. And where I'm going with this is we got to learn to surround ourselves with other like-minded individuals. You see, the easiest thing to do is to hate on one another. I hear this question all the time: how do we create healthier communities? How do we create healthier workplaces, work environments? It's simple. We need to learn to start building each other up, because the easiest thing is to tear another person down. We talk about creating toxic workplace environments, toxic work or school environments. We need to get back to caring about one another, treating people as human beings. That's how we move forward as a community, as a nation. Seeing them as a human, but actually showing that you care about that individual, building that individual up, telling them they're doing a great job rather than crapping on them, because that's the easiest thing to do. And so now after our play 2 preseason games, we do a home and home with Winnipeg. After our last preseason game, they have all the rookies in this one room in a cafeteria, probably about the size of this, and they call you in one by one to let you know if you made the team or not. So at each training camp, there's about 110 players that try out to make a professional football team. Each team carries about 60 players, so almost half the players that try out get cut. So now out of 50 rookies, it comes down to 5 rookies. I'm one of the 5 rookies left. They call me into this office. As I'm going into this office, across the table is the head coach and the general manager of the Edmonton Eskimos. The general manager says, JR, we like what you've done here in training camp. We want you to be part of the Edmonton Eskimo organization. All you have to do is sign the contract on the dotted line. As they slid that piece of paper across the table towards me, all I was thinking was I'd honestly never worked on my signature before. So I grabbed that pen and I signed my name all over the bottom part of this paper. Just, thought I was sweet. It's a true story. The very next day, our general manager says, JR, we've got to send the contract into the league office, but we need you to sign on that actual dotted line. We can't have you signing all over the bottom part of the paper. And so now I apologize. I said, I'm sorry. I was just so excited. Maybe some of the older people can relate to this. It'd be like winning a big bingo, one of the big satellite bingos. You know you get excited, but you don't want to tell everybody, because then people start asking to borrow money, and you know you'll never get it back. But now I made it. 2005, I'm playing for a team I grew up watching. I talked about earlier, I used to sneak into that stadium, Commonwealth Stadium, running onto the field, pretending that I was one of the Edmonton Eskimo players. So now I'm living out my childhood dream. So 2005, I end up making the team. I'm now 21 years old. I'll be very honest, the media is now building me up, calling me the hometown hero. I'm starting to believe the hype. They had me on billboards as you enter into the city. I was on commercials. They gave me a brand new truck to drive. I'm now starting to think I'm invincible, thinking I can do no wrong. I'd worked so hard to become a pro athlete. Now that I've made it, I started staying out late. I started drinking. I got involved in drugs. I became such a hot mess that partway through the 2005 season, the head coach brings me in for a meeting. He sits me down. He says, JR, you are not the same person that we brought here at the beginning of training camp. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to release you, and we're going to send you back down to your junior football team. Now, I'd never been cut from any sport that I'd played. I knew it wasn't the lack of my athletic ability, but it was my off-field issues. The drinking, getting involved in drugs was the reason why I got released from my childhood dream of playing professional football. The thing that hurt the most in 2005 Edmonton went on that year to win a Grey Cup championship. I wasn't part of that championship team because of the bad decisions that I was making at that point in my life. As much as that hurt, I'm forever grateful that Edmonton ended up releasing me. I talked about earlier about how my mother, majority of my family members struggled with addictions. It would have been easy for Edmonton to just turn a blind eye and allow me to spiral downwards into my addiction. But they stopped that. And at that moment, that's when I hit rock bottom. Because I'd always dreamt as a kid of one day playing pro sports. And now now pro sports is being taken away because of the bad decisions that I was making at that point in my life. So now 2006 comes along. Edmonton calls me back. They said, JR, we're going to give you one more chance to prove to us you have what it takes to be a pro. Not just on the field, but off the field as well. So I go to training camp 2006. End up making the team. Things are great because I'm back playing pro football again. As a team, we absolutely sucked. They went from winning a Grey Cup championship 2005, 2006, we didn't make the playoffs. It was the first year in 33 years Edmonton didn't make the playoffs. Fast forward 2007, this thing get a little bit better. Still trash. 2008, you can't be trash for 3 years. We were still trash, kind of like the Rough Riders. Oh, yeah, I'm just kidding. They're doing better now. I just said that for you, Keith. But partway through that 2008 season, we're playing against Winnipeg. As I'm running down the field, I'll come up on stage for this. As I'm running down the field, I hit the man in front of me. As I hit the man in front of me, my right leg is sticking out like this. As my right leg is sticking out like this, one of the Winnipeg players runs by, hits my leg with his knee, snaps my leg in half. The break was so loud, you could literally hear it echo throughout the stadium. So if my arm was my leg, my bone pushed out this way, my foot is now pointed in the opposite direction. I'm lying on the ground, I'm a hot mess, I'm crying, oh, yeah. Somebody call my cuckoo. Tell her to bring the bear grease. I didn't say all that, but I was crying, though. I really was. I was crying, I was freaking out. I'm a hot mess. I'll never forget this part, though. Our team doctor runs up to me and our head athletic therapist. They run up to me, they look at my leg, and this is what the doctor does. As he looks at my leg, he goes, JR, it doesn't look good. I'm like, shut up, of course it doesn't look good. My bone's pushed out this way, my foot is pointing the opposite direction. Like, just lie to me, right? Tell me everything's going to be okay. So the ambulance comes onto the field. They start pumping me full of morphine. They take me to the hospital. They straighten out my leg. They put me in this air cast. I go to the hospital where I end up having 3 surgeries on my right leg. So now I'm out the rest of the season. So every player at the end of the season goes through what's called an exit meeting, which means you meet with the medical staff, you meet with the coaching staff. So I'm meeting with our team doctor and our head coach. Our team doctor says, JR, the way you shattered your leg, there's a very high chance you'll never play professional football again. Our head coach says, JR, after hearing this, we're going to release you because we think your football career is done. I am 24 years old at this point, now being told I potentially have a career-ending injury. So now I'm out all of 2009 season. I end up having 2 more surgeries on my right leg. I've had 5 total on my right leg. But now I'm running full speed. This is 2010. April of 2010, I'm running full speed. I go back to Edmonton. I said, will you guys give me a chance? So they bring me out for this free agent camp. I put up great numbers at the camp. The guy on the right was the general manager, Danny Machocha now at the time. I sit in his office and he says, JR, we're not going to give you a chance to come back and play for Edmonton because we don't think your leg will hold up a full season. So I left Edmonton. I flew to BC the next week. I had a great tryout with the BC Lions. After my tryout, I'm sitting with then head coach, Wally Buono, in his office. He says, JR, we like what you've done, but in order for us to bring you in, we've got to release our veteran players. So I calmly looked at the coach, and I'm like, cut the man. Like, I need a job. Bring me in. And he was like, JR, it's not that easy. Give us a few weeks. And I was like, Coach, I don't have a few weeks because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were going to fly me out the following week to work me out as well. And so he says, JR, get him to cancel your flights. Give us a few days. A few days go by. They send me a contract. I sign the contract. I fly to BC where we have training camp. I end up making the team. I'm back playing professional football. It's now 2010. Fast forward in 2010, second last game of the season. We're playing against my former team, Edmonton, the Edmonton Elks. When I play sports, like I love to talk trash. I love to play with aggression, but it's just the type of person I am on the field. On the field, I flip the switch. I'm super intense. Off the field, super nice. Super nice, smile, very approachable. Nice guy. At least I like to think I'm a nice guy. But there I am as I'm getting ready to play my former team, Edmonton. I'm talking trash to some of my former teammates. Like letting them know if I get a chance to hit you, I'm going to give you everything I got. Off to the side, there's Edmonton's team doctor that said I wouldn't play professional football again. So I walk over to Edmonton's sideline, and I yell down the sideline. I'm like, hey, Doc. As soon as we made eye contact, I had a smart little grin on my face. I was like, I made it back. First play of the game, we kicked the ball off to Edmonton. I cannot wait to hit somebody at this point. My man, stand up. Come on up here. What's your name? Vincent. Nice to meet you, Vincent. Where are you from? Okay. Yeah, right by me. Okay. So, Vincent, what we're going to do, you see this picture? We're going to reenact this picture here. Okay? So that's me hitting somebody, but I'm going to hit you. I'm going to put my big head in the middle of your chest, and if you can take it, you can take it. If you die, you die. Oh. Are you ready for this? I can live with that. You can live with it? Yep. Okay. You want to call anybody first? Yeah, go sit down. I ain't going to do you like that. Oh, you just think you're deadly, eh? Just from Beardy's. I'm from Beardy's. Take a seat. I'll get that one arrow out. Yeah. I'm going to show you clips, though, Vincent, of me hitting people. This is what it would look like if I did hit you.
15. Willie sets out. Got him. Forward. Ball came loose. That's the newcomer. Justin Wilson drilled by J.R. LaRose.
Out of Delaware State, welcome to the next level. J.R. LaRose going to step up and try and rob the curl, and he just puts the shoulder right in the chest. Todd Smith on the in-round.
I wasn't going to do you like that in front of everybody, Vincent. I might not let you go back to Beardy's. Yeah. So we kick the ball off to Edmonton. I'm running full speed, and as I'm running full speed, they bring a little man like Vincent to try and block me. I plant my helmet in the middle of his chest, boom, knock him back. The returner catches the ball. He's now running towards me. As he's running towards me, he gets about 10 yards away from me. All I'm thinking is I'm like, whoo, I'm going to hit this man so hard. He gets 5 yards away from me. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the returner's lead blocker. Now, the lead blocker, he was bigger than me, but I'm fearless. My man, stand up. He was bigger. He was about this size there. You can sit down now. I have no problems with you. I'll just keep picking on Vincent here. But I'm fearless. I said I'm going to launch myself into that giant of a man. I'm going to hit that man just as hard as I hit the other little man. So as I go to launch myself into what seemed like a giant of a man, as soon as we made contact, it was like running into a brick wall. I'll come up here so everybody can see it. That man hit me so hard, as soon as we made contact, my head snaps back like this. As my head snapping back, looked like one of those little troll dolls, just bobbleheads, just bobbling like that. As my head snaps back, This man is now pushing me backwards. As he's pushing me backwards, I plant my right leg in the ground to stop me from falling back. As I plant my right leg in the ground, one of my clumsy teammates falls on my leg behind me, traps my leg down like this. That man folds me back. I end up breaking my leg. I dislocate my ankle. I tear all the tendons in my foot. So now I'm lying on the ground, but this time I'm not crying. I'm going to tell you why I didn't cry the second time when I broke my leg. The first time when I broke my leg, TSN had a close-up of my face. So I don't know about you when you're really hurt. I'm an ugly crier. Like I make that ugly, take me back. Yeah. It's true, never mind. But you know when you let air out, you've got to bring the air back in. So picture this, national TV, TSN has a close-up of my face, you let the air out, you bring in. If you've ever cried that hard, that ugly, like, so you know you're really hurt. So now you bring the air in. Now picture this, you've got to let the air out. National TV, for some crazy reason, I decided not to let the air out of my mouth. As I now go to let the air out of my nose on national TV, I have a snot bubble come out my right nostril, just blip. To this day, my friends still make fun of me for having a snot bubble come out on national TV. So the second time that I broke my leg, I was like, TSN, they're not going to punk me again. So I left my helmet on. I have a dark visor, so you can't see my eyes. So now I'm lying on the ground and I'm not moving. One of my best friends runs up to me and says, JR, get up. You're slowing down the game. All I could do was point to my leg. He looks at my leg. He starts freaking out. He waves our medical staff over. Our medical staff looks at my leg. They can tell that it's badly broken. They call for an ambulance. So let me tell you something. At every major sporting venue, they're supposed to have an ambulance on hand. Well, that day, ambulance was running late. So what do I see come out of the players' entrance? I see this ugly green John Deere cart. Pulls up beside me. 3 of my teammates pick me up. They put me in the back of this cart where they take me to the dressing room where I'm now waiting for the ambulance. So I'm sitting in the dressing room with our team doctor, and our team doctor cuts the tape off my cleats. He removed my cleat from my foot, but that's when they realized I had a dislocated ankle. My ankle was now pushed out to the side like this. The doctor says, JR, as soon as the ambulance gets here, you've got to go back in for surgery to repair your broken leg. But before they do that, I need to pop your ankle back into place. So I'm looking at this little white doctor. And I'm like, so doc, you're going to pull on my broken leg to pop my ankle back into place. He says, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. He says, JR, on the count of 3, I need you to put your gloves in your mouth, bite down as hard as you can. On the count of 3, I'm going to pop your ankle back into place. I start breathing real fast. Just doctor says 1. Ah! I opened up my eyes. I looked around that dressing room. I was more pissed off, though, because he lied to me. He said 3, and he did it just after 1. But I start crying. I'm swearing at the man. About 2 minutes go by. The ambulance finally arrives. Take me to the hospital. I'm out the rest of the season with a broken leg again, the same broken leg. I go through the exit meetings with our medical staff, our coaching staff. Our team doctor says, JR, the way you broke in the same leg, it's absolutely unheard of for anybody to come back from that, from breaking the same leg the way you did it twice. So our head coach says, stay here, do your rehab on your leg, but just know we're either gonna draft a player or we're gonna sign a free agent to take your spot. So at this point, I thought my football career was done. I haven't known any other athlete that played a skill position to come back from that type of injury twice. So I'm out 4.5 months into my rehabbing my leg. I'm back running full speed. They can't believe I'm running full speed. They said, JR, we want you back on the team. This is now 2011. We're playing our last preseason game. Boom, I survive it. I get through that. Now it's week 6. We're getting ready to play the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Day 2 into our, thank you, my man, day 2 into our practice schedule, the assistant general manager comes onto the field and he tells me, Jared, there's been a family emergency. You need to come to my office. So I go to his office. I'm sitting in his office, and then I call family in Edmonton, and that's when I got the news that my mom, they found my mom earlier that morning. My mom ended up passing away. I know I talked about my mom struggling with addictions for many years of her life. The last 2 years that my mom was alive, she had sobered up. She had cleaned up her life. And I'll share a quick story of my mom when I really truly got to see her healthy. I had just moved into a new house in Vancouver. I have 2 boys. They're now 20 and 18, but at the time, my boys were quite young. And so I was setting up the game room for them. And my mom came to visit. And my mom bought my boys this little like rocking chair for the games room. And so my mom, being the proud woman that she was, she says, my boy, let me set this up with my grandkids. And so there my mom is setting up this chair. And as she's assembling this chair, they have like little wooden nubs that hold the chair together. And then you put the screws in afterwards to secure the chair. My mom didn't put the screws in the chair. So my mom wanted to be the first person to sit in this chair. So she tells her 2 little grandbabies, let Cookum be the first to sit down. My mom sits in this chair, and the chair snaps, it breaks, and my mom falls over. I'm downstairs at this point. All I could hear are my 2 young boys dying, laughing. Oh, look at Cookum, it's stuck on Cookum's hips. So I come running up the stairs, and you got to, so picture this. At that point, my mom was on oxygen. She needed a lung transplant, but my mom had an oxygen tank. So I come running up the stairs. I look at my mom as my mom is lying on the ground, taking the little breaths from that oxygen thing, just, I look at my mom, and one of those like miserable old ladies. So when I was a kid, and where I'm going with this is it's never too late for people to change. Maybe you have family members that are struggling with addiction. It's all about, for me, it's not about giving up hope. I distanced myself from my mom for about 1.5 years when she was struggling. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't wish I could have that moment of hugging my mom. We need to be there to support our loved ones when they're ready to come through, because addiction is an ugly, ugly disease. It really is. It plagues so many of our people. But I was so quick to turn my back on the person that brought me into this world, and to this day it breaks my heart. And that's why I speak about my mom's addiction, because I know my story is relatable. Many of our people are struggling with addiction. There needs to be more resources, more help, and remove the stigma around addiction. And that's why I speak so freely about what my family has gone through. So I flew home to Edmonton, helped get the funeral arrangements set up. I flew back to BC because we had a game to play a few days later. In 2011, we started off 0-5. We were last place in the CFL. We turned things around. We went on a 9-game win streak, became first place in the CFL, which means we had a first-round bye. We played Edmonton the Western Final. We beat Edmonton. Now I'm playing in the biggest game of my career, the Grey Cup Championship, in BC Place in front of 56,000 fans. You talk about an electric experience. I remember walking into that stadium, seeing people from all over Canada coming to celebrate the Grey Cup Championship. We played Winnipeg that day, and we beat Winnipeg, and there I am standing on stage. My youngest son at the bottom there, my family were there, friends were there. But there I am standing on stage, realizing that my childhood dream had finally come to pass. After the celebrations on the field, we went to the locker room. And as I'm getting dressed, I was one of the last guys to leave the dressing room. But I remember sitting in my locker, thinking to myself, it would have been so easy to want to quit at times. It would have been so easy to want to have this victim mentality. But I knew at a young age, one day I was going to have kids. And I didn't want my kids to go through the exact same thing that I went through. Maybe you're sitting here today and you can relate to the hardships, to the obstacles, to the adversity that I've faced. I said this earlier, I'm no different than any person sitting in this room. You heard my story as a kid that grew up not knowing his father. I was a kid that was sexually abused. I was a kid that grew up with family members that had struggled with addiction. But I wanted to break that cycle. Every single person sitting in this room, you have an opportunity to break that cycle for your family. But you've got to learn to surround yourself with positive people. The other part is learning to deal with our trauma. I'm in counseling to this day. I've been going to counseling for just over a year. I try and go at least once a month. But I tell people this all the time. When we don't deal with our trauma, especially our childhood traumas, it now manifests in our life. How it manifests is it now impacts the people closest to us. It could be family members, close friends. We've got to learn to tackle that stigma, tackle our traumas in order to create the best version of yourself. I'm living proof that dreams do come true, but it starts with a choice. Don't be afraid to seek help. I wish the youth here nothing but the best as you move forward. Don't let anybody tell you you can't be this or you can't be that. But the only way of obtaining greatness is by surrounding yourself with other like-minded individuals. Once again, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here, speak my truth. I appreciate you guys. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. Thank you. So I'll stick around after if anyone wants pictures or wants me to sign anything. Do we have time for Q&A? Quick Q&A? Yeah, we do? Okay. Anybody have any questions for me? It could be about anything. Yep. How was it like winning the Grey Cup championship? It was the best feeling in the world. For me, I talked earlier on being a young boy pretending to hoist a wooden trophy when I was a kid. So to be able to live out my childhood dream was special. It honestly was. It really was. Who else had a question? Okay, so how old were my kids when I won the championship? My youngest was 4, and my oldest was 6. Yeah, so both my kids played football. My oldest, he played all the way to high school, and then he got injured. My youngest, he plays football and hockey. He just graduated, but this past year, he gave up football and hockey. He's an actor as well. And so it's actually quite a proud moment. So my youngest son just finished filming a feature film, which will be in theaters next year. He had a major role, a supporting role. So he's a big actor now. He's been a part of other things as well. But super proud of him. But yeah, both my boys growing up played football and different sports, and I got to coach them in football. So that was quite special. It's funny. It's Girls Like Girls, and so it's it's about it's nothing. It's not like what the title sounds like, but I actually read the book and it's quite good. So he is the like the third main character in that movie, and it's quite remarkable. I don't know if anyone's heard of Ethan Hawke. Maybe some of the older people, Uma Thurman. So yeah, so they're there in the movie, and it's pretty special for him to do. He's only 18 years old, so it's he's very passionate about acting. So yeah, it's really cool. Any other questions? Put your hand up if you got it. Going once. If you don't have any other questions, don't ask me anything when I'm done. Yeah. Ask, yep. Any other questions? How much was it? How much was it? I didn't have to pay for it, but we got valued at over 20 grand. You know how much bingo I could play? Yeah. Do you have a question? No, you're just flexing your little bicep there? Okay. Real cute. All right. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll stick around after if you want pictures or anything, or you want to ask me a question. Oh, what? Oh, you want a picture? Yeah, I'll stick around after for pictures. Okay, if there's no other questions then, once again, thank you. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Take care.
So we just want to give him big thanks for being out here and bringing us his inspiring story. And we're going to present him here with a gift on behalf of all of us here in this room. So I just want to say, Pidama e Nina Wopida, thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then you guys, he's going to be available in this room for pictures and autographs, anything you guys want to ask him if you didn't want to ask in front of everybody. We'll take a quick break, and you guys can come back in here if you'd like, but we are also breaking out into our breakout sessions as well. Before we leave, can we have all of our youth come up here for a group picture with him? Everyone, come forward. Should we get some on the stage? Some of you guys can stand on the stage too, or kneel down behind, sit on the stage. Go get in there. Come on, come get in. Don't be shy. Maybe some more can come on this side. Oh, there's a speaker there. In the back. Come on this side, some of you in the back. Put the short ones in front of you guys on the stage there. We can't see them. Come in front. Thank you, everyone. Our QBOW staff now. QBOW staff, QBOW board of directors. Let's take a picture with him. Keith, Ramy, Kayla, Elaine. Who else is in here? Jan, come get in the picture with us. Yeah, our QBOW staff. Yesterday during the lunch hour presentation, the question was regarding the presentation. So just so you guys know, and please keep the noise down level a bit, but let's welcome Joyce Knight.
On? Okay. Thank you, Carmen. I just want to mention that this is probably one of the best youth workshops that I've ever attended. You know, in the past few years, you guys had tremendous guest speakers. I loved JR's story about his hardship and his struggles and how he accomplished and became very successful in his life. And all of us can do that. So I thank QBOW for inviting me back. I love these conferences. You guys have the best prizes, the best entertainment, and so on. So give it a hand to QBOW. They're awesome. So this is going to be a short presentation. I'll try and do it as fast as I can because I know you just had lunch and you want to stretch your legs. But it's an important topic, especially for a youth. I work with trauma and children. I work with children and youth, and I work in a school setting, so I'm very aware of a lot of the obstacles, the challenges you guys face as youth. And the biggest thing is developing healthy relationships. And I'll go into it as we understand relationships. Okay, we all have Muslims and Kukums, and as First Nations people, traditionally, we are a relational group. We love being related. We love being Wagutuan, you know, and our Kukums and Mushums would say, you're related to them, you're related to him, and so on, right? Iwaku umat. So traditionally, we're always interconnected, we're related somehow. And as human beings, we strive, we're programmed to have relationships, that connection, in order to survive. So without love, without connection, as humans, we wouldn't be able to survive. Traditional families, I'm glad that you're learning about your culture, the rites of passages, the traditional teachings you're receiving here. You need to know those so that you have a strong value base. So first and foremost, family is where we receive our first training in relationships. So what we learn growing up, what we teach our children growing up, is how we're able to maintain relationships, how we treat each other, how we communicate, how we handle conflict, our time together, the time families spend together. Is that important? So some families will go to family camps, some families will traditionally celebrate, do celebrations, and so on. So it's always that relationship, that connecting, that connectiveness. Our families present a strong value base. A strong value base, strength-based, security, strength, and cultural. So when we talk about the TP teachings, that's a strong value base. And the TP teachings are strong values such as humility, respect, sagituan, love, obedience, trust, and so on. And each of those teachings were taught at various stages in life. So the first 4 teachings, probably 0 to 4, and so on. But that's what you'll be learning when you go into your workshops this afternoon. So healthy choices is about healthy relationships is about making good choices. Understanding boundaries, knowing your rights. And I was going to give you a relationship test, but I don't think I have time. So relationships can be with your family, your friends, your boyfriends, your teachers, your coaches, what relationships you have. So at any given time, you might have 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so your teachers, your mentors, and so on. So a long time ago, it was important that in the rites of passage, that there was a strong connection between elders and youth, because it is the elders that taught you the value base. it was critical stages in your life, and these values were ingrained in you. So when we talk about respect, it's about listening and paying attention, right? Good job. So another relationship is your friends. Your friends are your friends are like your first therapists. It's you share everything with them. So it's sharing stories, sharing emotions, sharing your fears, sharing your dreams and your goals. So your best friends, they're a strong relationship to who you are. Okay? So your friends can understand parts of your life and experiences very well. So what are some of the qualities you can share with your best friends? Right? That's a question you can ask. What are some of the qualities you can share with your best friends? Can somebody tell me? Maybe this table. What are the qualities you look for in a friend? Oh, good one. Loyalty. Awesome. That's awesome. And you? Loyalty. Awesome. That's a part of trust, right? I need to trust my friend. And you? Honesty. Awesome. Great, right? These are the things that I look for in a best friend. I want their loyalty, I want their trust, and I want their leadership, right? To push you, right? To be better, right? Your best friends can do that. They can say, let's join the basketball team, or let's go to sports. So your best friends can be your motivators. Trust is the foundation of a happy friendship. You got to be able to trust people, especially your friends. We look for trust, respect, generosity, kindness, right? Because our friends need to be kind to us. So what does a happy relationship look like? Knowing your boundaries. And when we say, what does a healthy relationship look like? I got to be able to trust you. I got to be able to have your honesty, or you got to have my back, right? A good relationship. What does an unhealthy relationship look like? Anyone? An unhealthy?
Abuse.
Awesome. Abuse. Good point. Because it could be abusive, right? So what types of abuse is there? Name calling, put downs, bullying, fighting. Exactly. Physical abuse. Good point. Look at this guy. He's going to be a genius. So in romantic relationships, so we talked about family, friends, but in romantic relationships, again, you need to establish a strong value base. When you don't have a strong value base, you're going to fall into picking someone who's not good for you. Okay? He mentioned abusive. So when you develop a strong value base, it's someone who loves you the way you are and is not going to change you. You need someone who's going to be able to trust and respect you, someone who's clean and sober, and all of you need to pick 4 values that you look for in a relationship, right? So if you pick 4, which 4 would you pick?
Love, trust, and honesty.
Right on. Awesome, right? Because you don't want anybody to cheat on you. Right? Awesome. Good job. Yes. If you have a strong value base, you'll pick people that you believe in, like your morals and your ethics. So someone who's secure, someone who's likes to have fun, someone who has passion, someone who's doing something with his life, and so on. Someone who's going to be finishing school. That's a good healthy boundary, right? Someone who shares your dreams and your goals with you. And the most important is someone who has their spirituality intact, right? That connection to the higher power. right? Because that's a good value base. You need that. So markers of a healthy relationship again is spending time together, companionship, closeness, attachment, and so on. So when we talked about boundaries, it's listing those 4 things that you want in a relationship. So saying, I gotta know that I can trust you. I gotta know that I can count on you. Your honesty, your respect for me, and so on. And also someone who's always looking out for your personal growth and development, growing together. Because you're young people, right? And you're maturing. You haven't finished growing yet. Sometimes we rush into relationships, right? When we're 14, 15, we get caught up, and so on. Some of the warning flags in an unhealthy relationship is someone who's clingy, someone who's controlling, right? And you talked about abusive behavior. So someone who's clingy is, they're not going to allow you to spend time with your friends. They're going to check your cell phones. And they're going to not allow you to do the things you want to do. So that's clingy. Recognize that. So that's not a good relationship. Controlling won't let you have time to do things on your own. So you can't be apart for more than 1 hour. Where were you? Who did you talk to? Where did you go? Right? So that's controlling. Abusive behavior is they'll put you down, they'll make threats, maybe break your personal stuff, right? So if you're on your phone all the time in front of your boyfriend, he grabs your phone and smashes it because he wants you not to have any contact with anyone, right? So that's abusive behavior. And abusive behavior usually ends up in hitting, right? So domestic violence is kind of like one of our top 3 leading issues in our communities. And it's alive and well, that it exists. So you guys are going to be ready, right? You're going to know about what a healthy relationship is and what is unhealthy. So what to do in your relationship is, if your relationship is unhealthy, is first of all acknowledge. Tell a friend, talk to somebody and say, okay, this is what he does, right? He's controlling and he won't let me be hanging around with my friends. And he checks my phone. And he constantly has to know what I'm doing and where I'm going, right? So acknowledge, hey, this isn't right, right? So talk to someone. Take care of yourself. Self-care is so important. Coming here and being able to dance and sing in a talent show, that's self-care. And a lot of you are probably into different activities. That's self-care, finding time for yourself, right? So it's not all about finding a relationship. The other one is avoiding. You start avoiding people, right? You start being seclusive and, no, I don't want to go. You make up excuses. Oh, no, I've got something to do. I'm busy. You know, when your friends start asking you to do something, then you're redirecting and deflecting. Oh, no, I can't. I'm going to be busy. I can't see you. So we avoid friends. We avoid family functions. We avoid things that we used to do before, right? So avoiding family and friends. Okay, the big question is sex, right? In any relationship, are you ready? So some of the things you might consider, these are very important things. You got to know this, because even though you're 11 or 12, we talk about it. So first and foremost is your moral and ethical values. And we go back to respect. right? Respecting yourself, respecting your body, respecting yourself is the biggest and the first and foremost. And are you ready to have kids? Right? There's a chance of pregnancy, protection, so on. You need to consider that because you don't want to be having kids when you're 14 or 15. Trust me, it's a harder life. The next one is STDs, STIs, and not feeling pressured, right? Nobody's going to pressure you into doing things. These are things we talk about in school, and we're learning. So ask yourself that. Another issue is consent. Agreeing to physical contact with someone or without consent is a criminal offense, right? So our young women, the Michigan murdered women, right? There's a lot of, we hear horror stories about that. So it's preparing yourself and being aware that no means no, right? Or you learn about good touch, bad touch. Okay, so your sexual rights are you have the right to make your own decision, you have a right to stop at any point, and you have a right to be safe. And the right to decide your affection level, and the right not to endure or experience having sex. Those are your rights. I have a right to say no. And in the end, it's about acceptance. Acknowledge your strengths, be who you are who you are. An elder once told me, as First Nations people, we can't be what we're not. We try to be something we're not, right? So identity, your culture is so important. So if you're from down south, if you're from Beardies, Wahpeton, know your culture, know who you are, know where you come from, know your Indian name. But going back to the elder said he was talking to a group of people and he wanted them to know their identity. And then he said, a wolf is a wolf, a deer is a deer, a moose is a moose, a monkey is a monkey. You don't see a monkey acting like a moose or a deer acting like a dog, right? The change of identity. You are who you are. So at any given time, don't try to change that, right? So with that, it's a short presentation, but I just kind of wanted to talk about it and get you guys to start thinking about relationships. What is healthy and what's unhealthy. You got to know the difference, okay? For our youth, you got to know it. So, ego se, ai nanaska mon mistahe.
So we just want to say thank you to Joyce for her presentation, and we're going to be gifting her with the star blanket. So who was listening? So tell me, what is the one sign within a healthy relationship? He said it, he got it first. There you go. Yeah. I'll do one more. What is one sign of an unhealthy relationship? We'll go with this one here. Okay, thank you everyone. We're going to be saving the gift cards for tonight, but we want you guys to be able to move along to the breakout sessions. So the session in here is going to be with my Uncle Junior, and then the other sessions will be across the hall in the other Wild Horse rooms. Prevention team, can you make sure that the rooms are ready? And chaperones, you can take your youth to the ones that they want to attend.
Okay. Actually, I don't think I need this. We're just waiting for a couple more.
Okay, I'll get you to come sit down here. We're going to get started. Because I'm going to be asking questions after I see who has been listening.
You know, I like doing this at youth conferences because it gives me an opportunity to kind of share who I am. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a kid from the res, just like everybody else. My reserve is the Alexander First Nation. Does anybody know where that is? It's in Alberta, so it's that way. Eh? Yeah. Okay, that's where my reserve is. And you know, I love being from my reserve. I still live on my reserve, and you know, it's just a great place to live, and that's kind of where I get most of my comedy from, my material, and all that good stuff. You know, all those characters I develop, that's where I develop most of them. But one thing that I like to do too during my shows is I like to give away free stuff. So who likes free stuff? Put your hands up if you like free stuff. Okay, you guys want to see what I'm going to give away? Yeah? Okay. Before I show you what I'm going to give away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn all of your names. Okay? I'm going to learn all of your names. I'm not going to ask anybody here to stand up and tell us what your name is or anything like that. This is probably the fastest way I'm going to learn all of your names. So all the kids that are participating in the youth conference, what I want to ask you to do, if you don't mind, is I'm going to ask you all to stand up real quick, okay? I'm going to ask you all to stand up. All right? Okay, right on. Yeah, stand up. Come on, hurry up. Stand up. Stand up, okay? This is the fastest way I'm going to learn all of your names, okay? What I need all of you to do right now is I want to ask all of you to close your eyes, okay? I need you all to close your eyes. Everybody, close your eyes. Yes, I still see some eyes open there. Don't worry, I'm not going to rob you, okay? Okay, eyes closed. Okay, good. Right on. Thank you. Okay. Now with your eyes closed, what I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to take your right hand. Take your right hand and put it in the air, okay? Right hand in the air and wave it like you just don't. I'm just kidding. Don't do that, okay? Right hand in the air, okay? Now that you have your right hand in the air, what I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to put out your index finger, okay? Your number one finger. Everybody put out your number one finger. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Right on. That's deadly. Good job, kids. Okay. Now, this next part here is very, very important, okay? So with your eyes closed, your right hand in the air, your index finger out, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to lean in real quick and smell your armpit. Yeah. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Gross. Yeah. Just kidding. No, that's what I'm going to ask you to do instead, okay? I want you to take that finger that's in the air, and I want to ask you to put it on your belly button, okay? Put that finger on your belly button, okay? What we're going to do right now, and this is why I asked everybody to close your eyes, is we're going to use our imagination a little bit, okay? We're going to use our imagination because nowadays we rarely get to use our imagination, right? I remember when I was a kid, we used to go outside and play, and that's all we did all day long. We never had iPads, iPhones. We never had anything like that. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. So let's tap into our imagination a little bit, okay? What I'm going to do at the count of 3 is I'm going to ask you to slowly take your finger off of your belly button. And as you slowly take your finger off of your belly button, I want you to imagine that there's a great, big, crazy-looking, colorful pencil crayon growing out of your belly button, okay? Let's try this, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Slowly take your finger off of your belly button and imagine there's a great, big, crazy-looking, colorful pencil crayon growing out of your belly button. Okay, now what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to imagine that there's a great big piece of paper in front of you now, okay? So, with your belly button pencil crayon and your great big piece of paper, I'm going to ask everybody to spell your first name, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Everybody could look. This is how I spell my first name with my belly button pencil crayon and my great big piece of paper, okay? My name is Conway. Okay, here goes. Here we go. C-O-N-W-A-Y, okay? Okay, kids, I'm going to ask you all to spell your names now, okay? Here we go, at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, kids, everybody give yourselves a big round of applause. That was awesome. You guys could sit down now, okay? So like I promised, like I said, I got some free stuff to give away, okay? So I'm going to give away one of these deadly t-shirts here, okay? So I want to know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everybody how you're doing tonight, and the loudest person here, you might get this deadly t-shirt, okay? Here we go. Let's try this, okay? Here we go. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Oh, okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. Holy smokes. How many kids here are from the res? Put your hands up if you're from the res. Okay. How many people here are not from the res? Put your hands up if you're not from the res. Includes adults too, kids and adults. It's okay. Okay, right on. Okay, pretty much everybody here's from the res, right? That's right. So you guys all understand what res comedy is already. I don't have to explain that to you because you guys already know. Every now and then when I do comedy shows to some people that aren't from the res, and they don't understand our humor. Right? Our humor's different. Remember, you guys, summertime, just like right now, remember those times when you ride your bike down the gravel road with your cousins? And all of a sudden you have that one clumsy cousin that jackknifes over their handlebars and scorpions real deadly and scrapes their face on the gravel? Whenever we seen that, what did we do? Exactly, we laughed at him, right? And then after we had a good laugh at him, this is what we said. We said, holy smokes, cousin, that looked like it hurt. Are you okay? And then after we found out our cousin was okay, we bugged them about that for the rest of their lives, right? That's what res humor is. I don't know what it is, you guys, but being from the res, we like watching people get hurt. Right? That's funny to us. I don't know why, but it's just who we are as Native people, and that's okay. It's fun. It makes us unique, right? We laugh at everything. We tease people that we like, right? If we like you, we're going to tease you. We're going to make fun of you. That's how we show that we like you. That's what humor is, and that's what I love to do. This is what I love to do. I get to travel around all over the place and do this. But even before I started doing this, you guys, I want to share something with you. When I was a kid, when I was your age, I was very, very shy. I was really shy. You would never guess it right now. But I used to walk around like this. I never ever wanted to be noticed. And every time somebody would look at me, I'd be like, Ma, what are you looking at? Don't look at me. Right? That's how I was. That's how I was when I was a kid. I had very low self-esteem when I was a kid. Mainly because I got bugged a lot. I didn't go to a Native school. I went to a white school. And racism was a big thing. Kids would be like, hey, you Indian, go back to the reserve. Yeah, wagon burner, what are you doing here? And I'd be like, shh, I never burnt any wagons. Why are you calling me that? Right? That's what happened to me. And that was one of the things that really gave me low self-esteem, right? And it was very, very tough growing up like that. And you know, when I turned into a teenager, 13, 14 years old, I didn't have anywhere to go. Nobody wanted me. My kukum, she took me in. I moved in with her in Alexandra on the reserve. I remember when I walked into her house, I had my garbage bag full of clothes, I walked in and she was in the kitchen and she was skinning rabbits. And she says this to me, she goes, Nusam, Ayepe, sit down, she said. I want to talk to you. So I sat down and she says this to me, she goes, Nusam, I got one rule in my house. You're either going to go to school or you're going to go to work. You're not going to do nothing around here, she told me. That's what she said. And me being a 14-year-old kid, I knew everything. Nobody could tell me nothing, right? And I just said, I agreed with her. I said, okay, Kukum, okay. So a couple months went by, and I said, you know what? I'm going to test this woman. Today I'm not going to school because I don't want to, and I could do what I want. That's what I thought, eh? So I woke up that morning, and I walked upstairs, and every single morning my cookum, she had a big pot of porridge on the stove and smudge. Every morning. So I went upstairs, I smudged, poured myself a pot of porridge, and I sat on the kitchen table, eh? Sat there and started eating. And all of a sudden, that's where the acting came in, eh? I grabbed my stomach and I said, "Oh, Coco, my stomach is so sore. I don't think I could go to school today." And she looked at me, eh? She looked at me right into my eyes. And she said, "That's okay, Newsome. Go back to bed. I'll wake you up anyway." And I went back to my room, eh, walking like this. I said, "I told you this lady wasn't going to do anything. I'm never going to school again. I'm going to do what I want from now on, eh?" That's what I thought. I went back to bed. My cookum knocks on my door about half an hour later. "Newsome, Wanska, get up. Put your clothes on. Your uncle needs some help." This was around the fall time, eh? So I put my clothes on, eh? Put my jacket on. I look outside. My uncle's sitting in his truck, eh? Having a cigarette. He's got his coveralls on, waiting for me. I go outside. I get in his truck, and we take off. He doesn't even say anything to me. I said, "Uncle, where are we going?" He's just looking around, eh? And on my reserve, we have a buffalo pasture. We went inside that buffalo pasture, driving around, eh? And he's looking around, and he goes, "Okay, this is a good spot right here." He got out of his truck, eh? Pulled out his chainsaw, started sharpening the chain. I said, "Uncle, what are we doing?" He said, "Nephew, today you're going to be my pilot," he said. I said, "You're a pilot? What are you talking about?" He said, "I'm going to chop the wood, and you're going to pilot." And holy smokes, you guys, that man made me work all day long. He didn't even feed me lunch, didn't even buy me a Pepsi, nothing. He just made me work all day long. And then finally the sun was going down, and he said, "Okay, Xe, we're done. Let's go back. I'm going to drop you off." So he brings me back. I'm just all sweaty and dirty, eh, and hungry, just looking real pitiful. I walk into my cookum's house, and as soon as I opened the door, oh man, the most magnificent smell I've ever smelt in my life. My cookum had fried moose meat, boiled potatoes, baked bannock, just an awesome supper. I went upstairs, eh, made myself a plate, started eating because I was so hungry, eh? And then she says this to me. She goes, "Newsome, I got to talk to you." She says, "Remember what I told you when you first moved here?" And I thought about it, and I said, "Oh, yeah. You said if I was going to live here, I was either going to go to school or go to work. I wasn't going to do nothing." She said, "That's right, Newsome. Don't forget that." And I guarantee you guys, after that day, every single day, I went to school. I didn't miss a day of school because I knew if I was going to stay home, I was getting put to work. It was easier for me to sit in that classroom and learn than to stay home and get put to work. That was a very, very valuable lesson, you guys, that I learned that day. My cookum, she's no longer with us. She passed away about 15 years ago. And I really like sharing that story when I'm around youth because it allows me to honor her, right? It allows me to think about her in a good way. Because when I was a teenager, and I know what it's like to be a teenager, it's very confusing. It's a very confusing time. You're trying to figure things out, trying to fit in. I get it. But my cookum really guided me when I was a kid. She helped me a lot. And then when I got a little bit older, I'm going to tell you guys something. Before I started doing this comedy stuff and this video stuff and this acting thing, I used to be a rapper. I was a rapper. I used to do stuff like this. Wiki, 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 cousin. Yeah. I did. You guys probably don't even believe me. You know when I started rapping, it was in the mid-90s, you guys. Back when we still had cassette tapes. Most of you probably don't even know what those are. Anybody know what cassette tapes are? Yeah? So just the adults, eh? Never mind. Some of you adults know what 8-tracks are. Never mind cassette tapes. Right? But that's when I started rapping. I started this group called the Red Power Squad. Right? We started doing shows in Edmonton, then we went around Alberta, and then after that, we were going to Saskatchewan, BC, all over Canada. The next thing you know, we're traveling all over the United States. Then 2008 comes along, the Aboriginal People's Choice Music Awards in Winnipeg. We got nominated for Best Hip Hop CD that year. So they flew us down there, they put out this red carpet, we're just walking on it, acting all deadly, And I go in this building and I see all these Indian stars. I'm like, holy, there's Tom Jackson over there. Holy, look at that. There's Ernest Munoz. Holy, there's Adam Beach. Boy, he's short. Yeah, right? And I was like, oh, look, there's Buffy St. Marie over there. That was before we knew she was white, okay? She was still one of us at the time, okay? But I want to share something with you guys. I knew Buffy St. Marie was white before anybody else. I did, because I met her back in the day. First time I met her, I said, Buffy, nice to meet you. It's an honor. And she smiled at me, And I looked at her teeth. I'm like, holy, her teeth are really white. I said, our teeth aren't like that. We like coffee and cigarettes. Then I got suspicious, And I looked at her elbows. And holy smokes, you guys, her elbows were well moisturized. I said, our elbows aren't like that. Our elbows are dry and cracked. Then I got even more suspicious, And I had to look at her bum. Yeah, just kidding. I'm just kidding. But anyways, back to my story. 2008. We won Best Hip Hop CD at the Aboriginal People's Choice Music Awards. We got to go on that stage, do our acceptance speech. It was awesome. The reason why I wanted to share that story is because throughout my rap career, I had one, I guess it was kind of famous song. I don't know if you guys heard of it before. It's called What's Really Rez. You guys ever hear of that song, What's Really Rez? Really? You guys have heard of it? Well, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. Because you guys heard of What's Really Rez, I'm going to perform that song for you right now. Okay? So, pull out your Snapchats, your Facebook Lives, your TikToks. I don't care. You guys could record this. Okay? All right. Let me find it here real quick. Okay, that's not it. That's my road music. Okay, let me see here. Okay, here it is. Okay, here we go. And you know what? I think I'm going to give away this t-shirt here too. Who wants this t-shirt here? Put your hands up if you want this t-shirt, okay? Okay, this is what I need everybody to do. I need everybody to clap your hands like this, okay? If you don't know the lyrics of this song, I want you to listen to the lyrics of the song, okay? Okay, here we go. If you start a fight and your wife has to finish it, if you catch yourself saying never sick, if you use a hickey as an engagement ring, if gossip in your life is a really big thing, come on everybody, let's see those hands clapping. If you use a car hood for a sled, and you use an air mattress for a bed, if you collect a check and you're not even working, if you use a sheet for a curtain, come on everybody, let's see those hands clapping. If you have no bum and bony hips, if you give directions by using your lips, if you want to be with the man that's Cree, Hey, I heard that you're talking about me. Right, everybody, let's see those hands clapping. Okay, this one's pretty bad. If you don't know who's your dad, it's a joke, man. Come on, don't get mad. It's probably me. If you want to get high-fired under the sheets, if you make a sandwich out of moose meat. Come on, everybody, let's see those hands clapping. If your jeans are too big and you gotta sag, your luggage is made of a garbage bag. If you have to squint in order to see, what's that over there? Bannocklarton T means BLT. If your in-laws are the same age as you and your cousins, and you have a homemade tattoo, come on, everybody, let's see those hands clapping. Okay, who wants this t-shirt here? Who wants this t-shirt? Okay, I'm gonna try something, okay? I need everybody to repeat after me, okay? Here we go. Say yeah. Say yeah. Say yeah. Say yeah. Say yeah. Say yeah. Say cousin. I love you. And I don't care that we're cousins. You kids settle down. Hola. Go sit down. I'm having a good time with you guys here today. You guys having a good time with me? Yeah, hola. You're just making me feel like I'm Northside Baby right now or something. But I want to give away this t-shirt, okay? But I'm going to do something here. I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to give away this t-shirt, you know, just I'm going to use some creativity. What I want to know right now, show of hands, I want to know how many people here are hunters. Who's a hunter here? By a show of hands. Okay? Adults too, kids and adults. If you're a hunter, you go out in the bush and you hunt, and I'm not talking about at Walmart either, okay? Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Okay, there's a few here. That's okay. Okay. I want to try something, okay? I'm going to try something here. And I want to get the adults involved too. I also want to get the kids involved as well. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look around the room here, okay? And I'm going to decide, okay? Man, this is hard. This is hard. I know. This is hard. Okay, so I'm going to pick one adult and one youth, okay? So let's see here. That young lady right there, sitting down, that put your hand up right there. Yeah, the one looking at you, the one looking behind you. Yeah, 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 you. Yeah, you want to come up here real quick? Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, you. Come on up here. Everybody give her a big round of applause. Okay. Okay, now let's see here. Yeah, come on up here, young lady. Yeah, you. Yeah, you come on up here too. Okay? Come on up here. Okay, yeah. Come on up here, young lady, and then you're way too eager to come up here. But come on up here. You know, I don't know if this counts because you work here, but yeah, both of you, come on up here. Okay? All right. Big round of applause for these two. Okay? All right, young lady, what's your name? Piper. Everybody make some noise for Piper. Right on, Piper. Okay. And what's your name? David. And everybody make some noise for David. Okay. So this is what we're going to do, okay? I got one t-shirt to give away, and there's two of you. So I need you guys to get on the ground right now and Indian leg wrestle. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You're not you're not going to do that. Come on up here. Come on up here. Come on up here. Okay. What I want to do, okay, is I want to try something here. Okay. What I want to do is I want to do the Dakota Dunes, okay, 2024 Best Moose Call Competition. Okay. So I'm going to help you out. Okay. I'm going to help you guys out. Do you know what a moose sounds like? First of all. You only had one charge at you? Okay, so you're familiar with moose, okay? Do you know what, Piper, you know what a moose sounds like? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to show you, okay? This, this is my best cow moose call, okay? It goes like this. Okay? And this is my best bull moose call. You see all those aunties about to come to the stage? That means it's a good one. Okay? So do your best to mimic that, okay? You could do a cow moose or you could do a bull moose, okay? So we're going to get you to go first, so come on up here, okay? Everybody make some noise for this gentleman. And this is his best moose call. That was okay. That was that was decent. Okay, Piper, are you ready? Yeah, I wasn't ready either, but that's okay. Okay, you can do this. I have faith in you. Okay, this is Piper's best moose call.
Moo.
Right? That was pretty good too. Okay, come on up here, sir. I'm not going to decide who won this contest. You guys are going to decide, okay? So if you like Dave, make some noise. Oh, not too bad. You got a couple kids right here, eh? Yes, kidding. If you like Piper, let me hear you make some noise. Holy smokes, those are all her cousins sitting at that table right there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and the winner of the 2024 QBOW Moose Calling Contest goes to Piper. Okay, Piper, here you go. You won this deadly t-shirt. Congratulations. But Dave, I got something for you too, buddy. Okay? I'm going to give you this deadly toque. Okay? It's brand new. There's no nits in it, I promise. It's there you go, sir. Congratulations. And yeah, you too. I know you work here, so maybe you could give me a deal on a room or something like that. You know, just nah. I'm just kidding. But everybody here, what I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to give a big round of applause to the staff and organizers that put this event together for all of you here this week. I want you to give a big round of applause for all the elders and everybody that prayed and everything like that for this event all week. Give a big round of applause to all of them. Okay? I want you to give a big round of applause to my exes that are sitting at that back table over there. All, yeah. I'm just kidding. But you know, they wanted to do something for you kids to kind of end this event and stuff like that. And they actually gave me a call a couple days ago. I had a free day today, but you know what? I said, you know, this is for the youth, and I'm going to come down from Edmonton. So I drove down here today just to come and spend some time with all of you amazing people here today. And it was an honor to do that. I got to head over to BC now. I got to take off and make my way back west. So I want to thank you guys for having me here today. But before I go, I got something to say to everybody here, okay? I just want all of you to know that I think you're deadly, okay? And I like watching you be deadly. So never stop being deadly. You know why? Because when you're deadly, it makes me feel like I'm deadly. Your deadliness brings deadliness into the lives of those that aren't so deadly, you guys. Okay? So tomorrow morning when you guys get up and you have your Indian breakfast, your coffee and your cigarette, I want you guys just to get out there and give her, okay? All right, kids, thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate all of you. You know, and we'll see you all again. It was awesome. I hope you guys had an awesome conference. I hear you guys are going home tomorrow, so safe travels home tomorrow to all of the youth, all of the elders, and all of the parents and staff. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Let me have your sweater. You know what Doksha means? What's that mean? That means Doksha, bye. Bye bye. See you later. See you later. Yeah. What language is that? Dakota. My name's Dakota. Dakota. What do you say that? Doksha. Doksha.